Okay. Hello and welcome to the first session of Navigating the Lost Scales. The Soviet rural economy launched the grand-scale nature transformation process during which all temporalities and creatures became embedded into the upbuilding of the communist future. The process unfolded within two dimensions. On the one hand, post-war industrial intensification of cities distorted the geological structure of the planet and its temporal synchronization. On the other, agrobiological approach to nature radically changed the form of terrestrial surface and species composition while generating toxic biological hybrids like Sosnowskyi and Hogweed. Such a complex geo-ecological transformation led to the disorder of original correlations between human and non-human scales. That closed the door to default anthropocentric cartography, according to which expansive human order remains secured from local non-human scales. In the post-Soviet world, where different orders and temporalities are enmeshed, we can find the lost scales of powerful non-human politics. Today, invasive hybrids of Lysenko's agrobiology, Soviet mechanical engineering, and cosmonautics have returned to the wild and formed their own political alliances against which human statehood is engaged in struggle. Treating the lost scales as ferals, we propose a new cartographic method. It investigates possible ways of navigation between human and non-human scales to re-establish the opportunity of shared map. During the seminar, we will try to consider the Russian Ferations map as a possible form of community in the condition of erosion of common politics and future. This course is presented by the Posthuman Studies Lab, an independent post-disciplinary curatorial and educational initiative based in Moscow. The collective consists of Ekaterina Nikitina, a researcher in the field of posthumanism and animal studies, and Nikita Sazonov, a researcher who works around speculative philosophy, posthuman politics, and transdisciplinary research and thinking. Together, they think through the post-Soviet condition with its toxicity and interruptions. Now I'm going to pass the mic. Please take it away.
Well, thank you. As you may hear from this short description, the course will be dedicated to elaboration in contemporary biopolitics, posthuman geologies and ecologies, and we will start to investigate during the 4 sessions. So let us to present the means and ends of the course. So first of all, we can say that we see this course as a methodological extraction of our research practice that brings into light some of our intuition. In other words, today we have some sort of finished investigations and project, but our methodological basis of our research is not exact and obvious for us, and now we are trying to investigate it with us, with you and with the new center in general. So maybe Katya can say something about our means also.
Well, hello, I'm Katya Nikitina. I'm PhD in literary studies. Since I got my degree from the University of Silesia, I work at ITMO University, St. Petersburg. I'm teaching critical posthumanism and ethics of science and technology at International Arts and Science Master's Program. 2 years ago, me and Nikita founded open research platform Posthuman Studies Lab, trying to rethink the posthuman, actually. The term which not only attracts an attention of many researchers, but also often is misunderstood. And addressing philosophical and historical approaches, we try to rework this term in Russian context. And now I suppose that we should talk something about our goals. So maybe Nikita, can you share the presentation?
Yeah, we can show you the course map. Maybe you can see it by syllabus. So I can say that our precise practice is based on the coincidence between two prefixes, post in the post-Soviet and the post in the post-human. We are trying to elaborate the post-human condition not only as some sort of brand name that many researchers trying to present and to elaborate in their practices. We are trying to reinvent some meanings of this prefix by hybridization between post-Soviet and post-human. So as you can see at the course map, here we have four note points. The first point is dedicated to Ferations. We are trying to elaborate, to produce some sort of invasion into Ferations. So we are trying to investigate what are the temporal and ecological conditions that falls within the post-Soviet, and together today we will coin the term Feration as a central conceptual unit of the project. The second session will be dedicated to scalability, scaling, and the practice of mapping. So we are trying to elaborate how we can investigate, how we can navigate between different Ferations, and how the concept of scale and scalability can help us with that purpose. Scale here is a tool of differentiation of invasive post-human politics that multiply itself and proliferate.
Cartography and transdisciplinarity is another goals of our. There are another goals of our research here with you. Speaking about cartography, we should rethink, and we will rethink, I suppose, the cartographical methods together and map in general, in order to create the possibility of the common between different scales and Ferations. The map here is a way to find something common beyond common future and common politics established in current researches. Transdisciplinarity. Here we're going to focus on ways and principles of ecopolitical investigations that can grasp Ferations in their very complexity. Inter and transdisciplinarity here is a brand name of a complex research practice that we are going to dwell on in this seminar. So maybe we should say hello to each other, and could you please tell us as participants why are you here, and what are you awaiting for here from this course?
Yeah, it might be a short description, just in two words. And if you not want to present yourself, don't keep it in mind.
Can I suggest that we go in a list, and I will be telling people names, and they will just. And maybe we can start. Okay. We've heard it from you, Katya, and maybe Nikita, you can introduce yourself, and then we.
No problem. You're okay. So. As you may know, my name is Nikita Sazonov, and I'm a philosopher from Ontology Department of Moscow State University. And so I'm interested in speculative philosophy and principles of philosophical design, but in the sense of research, I am focused on contemporary biopolitics, posthuman geologists and ecologists, and as I said, elaboration between different prefixes as post and hybridization between post-Soviet and post-human.
Okay, Aladin.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. My name is Aladin Boyoli. I have a background in fine art and visual anthropology, and I'm a freelancer artist and researcher. And I choose the course just according to the syllabus and the idea of a more participative classes and collaboration was also in my interest. So yeah, happy to start. Thank you.
Alejandra. Sorry, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry. Hi, I'm Alejandra. I'm a visual artist, but also run a contemporary program in the south of Mexico, and now I'm based in Mexico, and that's it. Yeah.
Alex?
Hi, everybody. My name is Alex Cruz. I am a non-academic interdisciplinary artist and writer. I'm based in Oakland, California. Right now, my practice focuses primarily on the weaponization of machine vision systems with particular respect to urban and architectural design under a broader rubric of computational capitalism and biopolitics. So that kind of led me to this course. And I'm just broadly interested in Soviet intellectual history. So it sounded really interesting. Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, my name is Alexei. I'll be moderator for this course, even though I wanted to take this course myself. I have my master's in cultural studies, and I was always interested in posthumanism, and now I have to do a lot of research on post-colonial relations, given the situation in Belarus. And yeah, and I would really love to hear more about the cartographies and how you apply them to the post-Soviet space. And Andrew?
Hi, I'm Andrew. My background's in architecture. My most recent research has been about logistics and maritime law. And I think something I'm particularly interested in here is the issue of scale. So I'm excited to see how this class unfolds. Thank you.
Antigon, sorry if I mispronounce anything.
Hi. Yes?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, hello. I'm Antigon. I'm a visual and performance artist from Athens, from Greece. And yeah, I can't hear you very well, sorry. Can I talk again?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because, wait, so, hello. Hi, I'm Antigon. I'm a visual artist from Athens, yes, and I'm looking forward to see what are gonna work on.
Okay, thanks.
I can
Carl?
hear you.
Hi, yeah, I'm Carl. I'm a geographer based at Newcastle University, and I'm working on, well, we can perhaps call it, rather than the posthuman perspective on the human, as a kind of, from a kind of synoptic standpoint of the human, as both an agent of cartographical judgment and someone or something that is subsumed in geological time. Yeah, I look forward to this.
Catherine?
Hi, so I'm Catherine. I have a background in architecture and based in Boston, the US. And then my past research has been mostly about new material processes and communing processes that come out of the reckoning between human and non-human labor in architecture.
Edna?
Hi everyone, I'm Edna. I'm studying my bachelor degree in philosophy. I'm from Mexico City, and that's it.
Eduardo?
Hello, I'm Eduardo. I'm a filmmaker and film researcher from Mexico City. I decided to join the seminar because I am interested in conducting eco-social research in Mexico, so I thought I could learn something from your practice in Russia.
Irini?
Hi, I'm Irini. I'm a visual artist from Greece. My practice is based mostly in research and sometimes philosophy. And I'm recently interested in the concept of cartography and mapping and the political nuances that it may have. So that's why I took this course.
Enda?
Yeah, I'm Enda. I'm originally from Ireland, currently in London. My background's in philosophy and in fine arts. I'm really interested in questions of scale. And yeah, my current research is on questions of the construction of subject in relation to large-scale systems. So yeah, that's it.
Jonathan?
Hey everyone, I'm Jonathan. I'm also based in London at the moment. I did a master's in international relations and hoping to do a PhD in politics, focusing on the Anthropocene. So taking the class because of sort of the posthuman stuff, the cartography, sort of focusing on deep time and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, just really interesting. So yeah, thanks.
Rafael?
Hello everyone, I'm Rafael. I am Brazilian. I'm based in Goiânia. I am a master's student at PUC in international relations and world politics, and my main interests and why I took the course pretty much. I'm very interested on like Marxist visions of nature, more specifically like the concept of metabolism and Marx's engagement with scientific materialism of his time, and how that could be rehashed somehow to make a sort of a anti-capitalist theory for the Anthropocene, and how could especially energy and information relate to labor in our current stage of capital. That's it.
Shelby?
Hello, hey, hi. I'm a designer and design researcher based in India, mostly working in the social impact sector. And I found the idea of scales very interesting. That's why I'm here.
Vincent?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Vincent, I'm a writer and researcher based in Manila. My background is in language and literature. My current inquiry and practice circuits on poetics, theory, materialism, but also philosophy of post-nature. I took the course because I'm interested in the possible scalar implication and synthesis of the post-human in thinking processes of terrestrial futurability. Thank you.
Je?
Is that me?
Yes.
Hi, I'm having trouble turning this on. Hi, I'm Zé Antonio. I'm in legal theory at PUC Rio. I'm speaking from the south of Brazil. And I'm interested in the question of scales, basically because I'm trying to come up with a theory of norms in the sense of legal theory that can account for the multi-scalar sovereignty, as you can see in Benjamin Bratton's work, for example, or like in left accelerationism in a more general sense. So in this multi-level context of normativity, the question of navigation becomes important because everything becomes kind of relative to which level and which scale you're talking about, right? So yeah, that's it.
If I missed anyone, please feel free to intervene, but otherwise I give the mic back to Ekaterina and Nikita.
Okay, well, it is good to hear that there are so much artists and practitioners between participants, because we prepared a creative task for you that will focus on collaborative research, but we will describe it at the final part of the session. And now let us to move to the short description of the Russian Federation project in general. So we can say that the Russian Federation project is an open, independent initiative dedicated to complex transdisciplinary research of local ecologies and politics, and their interrelations, as well as codependence of future and past anthropocentric ideological hegemony and resistance of posthuman micropolitics. So our studies has no precise form. It transmutes between different objects and products, such as workshops, lectures, bioartistic experiments, exhibitions, and digital platforms. So now it is a research course. And each research was performed in collaboration with different institutions of contemporary art, universities, and public platforms. So in our research team, we have different specialists that are media artists, sound artists, philosophers, psychologists, geobotanists, engineers, bioartists, designers, and so on and so on. The idea that that is in the basis of this multiplicity is in hybridization between different optics, methods, and practices. So we will reveal this feature later at the final session of the course named Transdisciplinary. But now let's move to some example. Katya will describe.
Yes, thank you. I think that we have cool team here, participants. And if you had time and to check the platform, you know that to date we have finished 2 episodes of our long-term project. And I will only briefly introduce these episodes, these projects. Our first big fieldwork project was dedicated to Ural's sinkhole ecologies and politics. The project was elaborated during the expedition to Berezniki, Permkrai, and presented in a form of exhibition in Moscow. Preparing the Sadiria is the name of our exhibition and the name of the project, Sadiria. Sadiria exhibition was prepared in collaboration with different artists, and we analyzed the local side effect of the execution of the Stalin's great plan for the transformation of nature and the concept of city garden, the popular idea of 30s and 40s in the Soviet Union. Sadiria generalized the idea of such gardening and flowering ecology into the concept of synchology, and we return to Sadiria and synchology later. In 2019, we started our platform with theoretical and speculative project dedicated to the end of petropolitics. We speculated about the near future when our oil production, fossil fuels will reach their end, and we will have had a shift from hydrocarbon-based modes of thought to the alternative ways of thinking and narration. Our research was focused on the geology of petropolitics, the machinery behind fossil fuel narratives, and various versions of its ending based on the end of petropolitical topography in the post-Soviet space. Besides, we looked into precarious economies of a few settlements in Russia, with a particular focus on the economies of groups and towns dependent on wild species such as animals, mushrooms, berries, etc., etc. During theoretical and practical workshop, we have been elaborating the use of alternative mapping and energy agents, and the results you can find at the platform.
Well, thank you. That was a short description of our project as a kind of para-institutional, open and independent initiative that has no precise form, practice or affiliation. And we would say that we see the course in the new center as not a meta description of our project, but rather as a new research episode. This is why we invite you not just to listen a course, but rather to participate in our research. As I said, we will reveal that opportunity later at the final part of the session. So now let us move from the formal parameters of Russian Ferations project right into its conceptual core. For that purpose, we need to take our attention on the title of the project to produce a sort of hermeneutic investigation. This is a play in Russian Ferations is a play on words that consonants with the expression Russian Federation as the territory we embedded in. It is obvious that we construct our concept and practices while living in Russian Federation. And this expression Russian Ferations pretend to express and describe just in 2 words our current political, ecological, and cosmological situation. That means that today expression Russian Federation has a certain political ecological commitments that we need to accept in order to live at that territory. You may exactly know what we mean by these commitments. They are about the past and the present, international relations, and also the legacy of Russia. This is also the complex intertwinement of superstition, stereotype, etc. And we are not ready to simply accept that image as something given, as something we can gentially have. That means that while inhabiting these territories, we at the same time pretend to redefine the very image. So let's listen attentively to the expression Russian Federation. This is an acronym of the older expression that is Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic. This is the name this territory had during the 1970s revolution and the Soviet era right until the collapse of the Soviet Union. In Russian Federation, we have here a Soviet legacy subtracted in some manner right from this expression. But at the same time, this practice of subtraction is a very Soviet in its core. As you may know, the Soviet world has a widespread practice of word contraction that relate to the titles of organization, human names, as well as the everyday words. For example, Goel-Ro, as you may see and at the picture with the hammer and sickle, is a contraction of the expression that we may translate as State Commission for Electrification of Russia. But also we have some very strange names that were produced by contraction of names and some sort of titles that were associated with the revolution. For example, Malor as a contraction from Marx, Engels, Lenin, October Revolution. And Vailora, Vladimir Ilyich Lenin, an organizer of revolution. So in other words, the Soviet in expression Russian Federation is abstracted from it. But at the same time, it is present in it as something that has its effect even through the subtraction, because subtraction itself is a kind of Soviet practice. This is why we may treat the Soviet as a kind of a legacy. The Soviet is a legacy of those who live in Russian Federation. The legacy that is past, but in some sense is always already present, and in some sort of sense is connected with future. But what we can ask as a question: what does this legacy mean? And here we need to coin another word. This expression Russian Federation connected with, and this word is post-Soviet. As a successor of the Soviet, Russian Federation is post-Soviet, and the core question here is, what does this post mean? Of course, in a more direct and everyday sense, the prefix post and the word post-Soviet express such historical and political conditions that come after the Soviet. This term appeared right after the collapse of the Soviet Union to describe the geographical and political status of some Eurasian territories. But what the general question here is what the conceptual state of this ancestrality. And one of the way marked by some theorists as well as by the common political ideology is to treat the Soviet and the post-Soviet in the context of generational memory and traumatic experience. This means that post-Soviet is something deeply rooted in and even equated to its past or Soviet. The way of thinking of such approach is a kind of post-traumatic syndrome or the endless repetition returning to the traumatic experience. This is the idea of pure past. But if we concentrate on the very idea of this absent present, the past and present that marked Soviet and the post-Soviet, we then encounter the figure of spectra. This is a more relevant critical approach that perform post-colonial theorists such as Alexander Etkin. And as Algimantas Brazauskas, a post-colonial theorist that coined the term post-Soviet space, puts it, by paraphrasing the Communist Manifesto, a spectre is haunting CIS, or Commonwealth of Independent States, the spectre of USSR. And in other words, the relation between Soviet and post-Soviet is spectral ones. The spectre is not a trauma, it is something different. It is something more material. It is a kind of materiality as well as temporality. But the most intriguing point is that post-Soviet deals with the second-hand spectre, because as we know, the communism itself were a spectre, because a spectre of is counting Europe, the spectre of communism. But what is the spectre that is the result of the collapse of another spectre? And what is the spectre of spectres, this paradoxical spectral spectrum? And we can attain this paradoxical doubling by reaffirming the thesis of spectres of Marx by Jacques Derrida. As he put it, a terrifying spectre for all the powers of old Europe, alle Mächte des alten Europa, but spectre of all communism then to come, already promised but only promised, a spectre all the more terrifying, some will say. Yes, on the condition that one can never distinguish between the future to come and the coming back of a spectre. In other words, the doubling that the spectre of Soviet performs is the very essence of spectrality, as a doubling of time, the disequilibrium of present by both past and future, and it annihilates the very existence of linear sequence of time. In other words, the post and post-Soviet is itself a spectra. The ancestrality of post-Soviet is itself spectral, but is not an illusion. The spectre is not a spirit. The spectre is a specific kind of materiality. We should say that the spectre is a corpse. It is a corpus. That means that it deeply incorporates our bodies and our territories. It is not an astral illusion in our hands. Moreover, in some sense, it is more material than our material existence. That's why we should say that post is a material part of the post-Soviet, not a temporal prefix that disconnects it from the Soviet. In that sense, the only thing that the Soviet and post-Soviet have in common is the post itself, because Soviet is itself as a kind of post-fix, because the Soviet is the very realization of the communist idea. And post-Soviet is a kind of posteriority of this post-condition. Post is the very corpse of post-Soviet, its soil, its ecological condition, and its ecosystem. And Katya now will explain this ecological connection with post-fix in broad.
Well, thank you. I propose to keep playing game in consonances and refer to the session, to the 7th session of second year Jacques Derrida's seminar, The Beast and the Sovereign. The 7th session is devoted to Maurice Blanchot's death. Derrida parses the following play on words: I posthume as I breathe, where posthume means posthumous in French. This phrase has a double meaning due to the double etymology of the words posthume and posthumous. Both they go back to the same Latin roots: humer, breathe, and humus, earth, soil. Referring to this etymological context, we can interpret the phrase "I posthume as I breathe" in two ways. The first way, "I posthume as I breathe," points to what comes after death. And it could be breathe, new life, continuation of life. And the second way to understand this phrase, "I posthume as I breathe," connected with humus, soil. And this humus alludes to burial motives. Death as an end of nutritious or death as an end, or death also can be understood here as nutritious humus composed in Haraway's way, for example. But since the reader does not believe etymology and makes fun of it, calling etymology false science, he makes the observation that in the word posthume, the letter H is a typo. So we are dealing here with a new phrase. I posthume as I breathe, where posthume is without this letter, without the letter H, that adds burial motives here. Posthume ascends to the other Latin word, posterus, heir, the one who inherits after death of the ancestors, after death of the fathers, sort of posthumous son. Hence, the issue of inheritance became one of the most complicated and annoying when someone's life ends, as well as with this. We have here the same situation as it was with the end of Soviet Union. It's an annoying and complicated process of inheritance. However, let me continue the reader's etymological series by introducing another connotation with posthumous. I mean the posthuman. In the text in many texts on critical posthumanism, there is a common place. Rosie Braidotti, Kerry Wolf write that posthuman literally means after human. We can argue for a long time about the prefix post in this word, which in fact Kerry Wolf does. However, we know that the word human is derived from the Latin humanus, which is an adjective cognate of humus, earth, soil, as I said. And I suppose that Donna Haraway builds her thesis on this conclusion when she claims that we are all compost, something compostable, something that becomes part of the ecosystem, nourishes it and constitutes its wealth. This is why she proclaims, if you remember, I believe in compost, we are all compost, not posthuman. However, as our analysis of Derrida shows, the posthuman can be and perhaps is primarily associated with the posthumous in matters of inheritance and thinking. And the order of inheritance can be understood here not so much as symbiotic decomposition, the creation of soil for the growth of posthuman subjectivity in the form of synctonic or symbiotic beings, but rather the phrase I posthuman as I breathe, if we continue the reader's etymological series, this phrase unfolds in a long chain of inheritance of the ecological state of the environment, genes, thoughts, and deeds. In our inheritance and thinking, we are always already initially posthuman. We are posthumous sons, daughters, thrown into the concepts, thoughts, temporary nodes, and interweaving which we inherited. In the same way, post, this prefix post in the post-Soviet refers to the complex ecology of inheritance. As post-Soviet, we inherit all deposits, all voids, everything that died in Soviet territories, but we also inherit all living things, all that remains existing on the outskirts of the collapsed totalitarian ideology. This condition and its inhabitants are concentrated at the surface of the very present and cannot be left unresponded. They provoke us to the new forms, to think new forms, and to find new forms of thinking, existence, and coexistence.
Well, thank you, and let us make a short conclusion from this point of our session. We can say that by proposing neologism Russian Ferations, we continuing to this Soviet practice of contraction by contracting from Federation. We are trying to proliferate the spectra to inhabit our territories with something deeply post-human, and then to dehumanize post-Soviet world, to deterrorize it, and etc. So we are, in other words, we are trying to exploit the performative effects of this contraction practice in order to make the contracted work, to put it into work. So, but Russian Ferations neologism is something other than simply a contraction of and play on board with Russian Federation. We have we need to focus on the second word in this expression. In other words, Ferations, because here we have the S ending. We have multiple entities. We have Ferations, not Feration. And the question is, what does exactly this term mean? And Feration, let us continue this etymological elaboration to exploit this false science. It may have some sort of positive effects in our elaboration. So the Feration referred to adjective feral. Today, we can say that it is the common word, for example, for biology, where it can refer to a species that is already non-cultural, that became wild. In the dictionary, we can find some sort of description. The feral species is any domesticated animal or cultural plant that has returned to live in wild condition. But if we are looking into the deep history of this term, we can say that feral is a more ancient word. And here, by archaeological excavation, we can find something interesting in this word. And first of all, look up at the Lysenko dictionary, where we can find the doubling of the meaning. First of all, feral means of or belonging to the dead or to corpses, or belonging to the festival of the dead, celebrated annually in the month of February. It is ancient celebration feralia that were widespread in the ancient Rome. So the second meaning of this term is that in general, feral means something deadly, fatal, dangerous. And there we have some two different meaning, and unfortunately there is a kind of abyss between them. The question is how we can connect them. If feral at the same time means something otherworldly, but at the same time it is something dangerous. And how we can connect them if we are not in the sci-fi or horror movie, because in our everyday life, it is hard to connect them. And we can find the answer, some answer in Ovid's Fasti. Let's look at the excerpt that describe Feralia celebration. Once upon a time, waging long wars with material arms, they did neglect the All Souls' Day. The negligence was not unpunished. For this say that from that ominous day, Rome grew hot with the funeral fires that burned without city. They say, thought, that I can hardly think that the ancestral soul did issue from the tombs and make their mourn in the hours of stilly night. And Hideout's ghost, a shadowy throng, they say did howl about the city streets and the wide fields. Afterwards, the honors which had been omitted were again paid to the tombs, and so a limit was put to the prodigies and funerals. So, as we can see from here, there is a kind of donation economy between life and death, between the world and other world, between human and inhuman. And if we have a short circuit, and in the Ovid description, we have a kind of short circuit between this economy. We have a kind of disequilibrium, a kind of political difference between human and inhuman. If before the negligence of donation, we have some sort of reciprocity, though after that we have a short circuit. And as we may read, ancestral souls did issue from the tombs and make their mourn in the hours of stilly night. And Hideout ghost, a shadowy throng, they say, did howl about the city streets and the wide fields. So we can hear there that something otherworldly become dangerous. And even it is here that the question of the common rises. Ferrell here refer to the principles of the common, when we cannot live at our own world only by ourselves, when different worlds are invading into our oikos, and we must coexist with the non-human. So Russian Ferations project described the situation of collapse of separate worlds of species as other beings. And the question of common can only be raised in posthuman condition. So now Katya will reveal the case when the classical case of feral invasion becomes something more fundamental that relates to the principle of the common existence.
Yes, feral plants, as you know, and as well as feral animals, are interesting biological and political case for many territories. And here today we would like to highlight Sosnovsky's Hogweed story, a plant that has been declared war across the country. This plant has interesting story and history of hybridization. In 1944, Soviet botanist Ida Mandenova found and described the species as a plant with giant stem, branch umbrella, yellowish-green flowers, and fleshy phototoxic leaves, which touching is dangerous in a time of flowering. During 1940s and 1980s, this species had been participating in the process of introduction of new productive plants into the post-war economy that demanded speedy recovery. The introduction of new plants was covered by Lysenkoism and agrobiology, ideological approach in biology for that period. From many points of view, agrobiology was based on the main conviction of the early Michurin's works that postulated the idea that the environment had an important effect on the organism's heredity. According to this, social binds and outer parts of organisms were more important in conversation about heredity and production of strong and productive hybrids than the inner parts or genes and their inside construction. Despite the accidents caused by furanocoumarins and negative results of their reduction, hogweed was used as a silage plant for a long time. Once having chosen the way of cultural fugitives, Sosnovsky's Hogweed was released from the bonds of experimental laboratories to become the avenger in its post-apocalyptic universe. Like a tragic superhero, like a ghost, derived from artificial breeding, cold resistant and deadly survivable, it is coming back today as the embodiment of Soviet trauma, as the ghost of the Soviet, having become an invasive species that marks territories traumatized by overproduction. Hogweed picked a fight with humans. Right now, the real war is unfolding between strong mutants of Sosnovsky Hogweed and humanity. This war has become an echo of World War II because in late 40s, right after the war, Hogweed, the agrobiologically improved being, the vegetative Heracles, because Heracleum, its Latin name Heracleum means Heracles, hero. So Hogweed had to stand shoulder to shoulder with Soviet people and help them to replace the irreparable military losses, humans, animals, and plants. Hogweed was a silage plant. It was a food, a new plant for agrobiology and for post-Soviet economy, post-war economy for Soviet Russia. Today, creeping mobility of feral hogweed, which colonizes post-Soviet territories, confronts anthropocentric understanding of verdure as passive and irrational greenery. Hogweed not only rules over flora and fauna, capturing it and turning it into monstrous poisonous humus. Being the product of agrobiological experiments, the plant questions the boundaries between natural and cultural, crossing the lines between life as a prerogative of anthropos, bios, and zoe, as life of non-humans, as life both over and beyond the human law. And we prepared for you a funny film.
Yeah. And we inviting you to watch this trash movie called Human Hogweed. It is about 13 minutes, and then we can discuss it. So I sent the link into the
chat.
Yeah,
So
yeah, but I cannot.
Can we turn on this video here during the presentation or not?
Due to the copyright
we can
do this.
We can show it.
But I can. Maybe Alexei can help us because I cannot see the chat section where I can put the link.
You can send me the link into Telegram and I will send it here in the chat.
No. I can only see question and answer section, but no chat section.
I have chat section, so I can send the link if you share it with me.
Okay.
Yeah, let's do it this way. Yeah.
Okay. Interestingly, this is the second film, but this is a sequel of the first movie, but we cannot find the first movie. And this is a very peculiar point about this.
So should we make a break for 13 minutes or what we should do now?
Yeah, let's make a 5 minutes break or
okay.
Revision it. Yeah.
Okay.
So we are back here at 2 minutes past an hour, wherever anyone is. Okay.
Well, I think that we can continue.
Yeah.
Yes, we can find the prequel. Yes.
So you have a chance to quick watch on this video, on this film. We can name it film, and maybe you have some sort of questions or maybe some sort of thoughts about the Hogweed situation, the Hogweed case, and maybe you can share it with us and we can discuss it, because we have there was so much of us, but there is still so little of you.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
We invite you to the short discussion that can reveal some sort of conceptual points of the project and the ecological issues such as invasion of plants, feral situation, feral status of some sort of species.
Maybe you just have some comments or thoughts, because we spoke a lot of different things: post-Soviet situation, post-Soviet and post-human, and also in the end we tried to unfold the term feration.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we can together join these terms.
Yeah, what do you think about these plain words, feral, Feration, Federation, Russian Ferations, that connects with some very essential ecological and political topics?
Yeah, I can say something about that. I was quite interested in the etymological deconstruction of post in particular and posthumous. Like, I guess like a point that came up for me was in questioning whether there is like a biological sufficiency that's going on there, or whether you want to have like a normative project that also kind of encompasses that. So just to kind of unpack what I'm driving at with that is, you know, the Haraway comment of like being compassed seems to like imply a passivity, or it's kind of irrelevant what you do if your kind of agency is to become compassed in the context of the like posthumous. So I guess I was thinking like there are two aspects, and in one hand, like, yeah, this is a kind of like a constraint of human agency in a sense that it ultimately does become compassed, but then also like the conceptual space in which compassed makes sense as a you know, as a term is a kind of, yeah, space of like active agency. So I guess in thinking about like what a project around that could mean, it would seem to need to encompass both aspects of kind of the organic decay, but also a conceptual construction into which that organic decay is like determined in some way, rather than like the indeterminacy of simply it being kind of like a biological like fact, I guess. Just like that alone being sufficient,
Yeah.
which is probably not what you were saying, but just kind of, it was like a thought in relation to it, basically. I don't know if it's...
Yes, actually, I don't like what is going on in this field connected with posthumanism, because I suppose there is a lot of marketing there in these words, and it leads to misunderstanding of the term and of its roots. And I think that in posthumous and in posthuman, actually, we have a lot of humanistic. We have a lot of old theories, old philosophy, and all interesting instruments that help us to rethink the human condition, actually. Maybe we were posthuman from the start. But it doesn't mean that we were machines or we were only biology. Biological state also questioned, actually. But I like this idea of inheritance, that we are inheriting something, thoughts, ideas, genes, our bodies, ecology. And sometimes this inheritance can be sorry, can unfold in complicated way. I mean, this example with hogweed, toxic plant that was a part of a economy, Soviet economy, and now it's a feral plant that puts own politics everywhere. We have a war with real war with this plant, and I think that it's interesting actually how plant politics and non-human politics meets human politics and human law. Okay, thank you very much for interesting comment. Thank you.
I found a case I didn't know about, the case of the hogweed, so it was really interesting to actually hear about, and it reminded me of the case of the hippopotamus in Colombia also. I don't know if you guys are aware of that. Like Pablo Escobar brought like a lot of animals for his personal zoo, and then those hippopotamus started breeding, and then after like the fall of the drug cartel, they are now like they sort of stampede a lot of places, and they get walking from one place to the other. But also there is like although they are very dangerous animals actually, so like they pose a certain threat to the population and everything, but at the same time some sectors of the population don't really want to open a sort of a hunt towards them. So there is also a sort of like despite this thing being unnatural, it develops a kind of intimacy as well, despite being a dangerous one, because at the same time, like they put a lot of things in risk and they really disturb the ecosystem above all and everything. And something else that I was thinking, like you talked a lot about terms of inheritance and of like transmission of information and this kind of a thing. And like the first association that the pharaoh brought to me, at least, was the lots of cases of pharaoh children as well, like in reports and histories and little stories and mythologies and stuff. And it rang to me as a very sort of interesting kind of offspring, because it's an offspring that is clearly and intimately human. If you look at them, like they don't have their humanity denied, but that humanity is like geared towards something else, and usually through mimesis. So you have like those children that with mimetic behavior towards a lot of species, usually mammals, and usually like animals that are very connected to the human in a sort of even like in an organic kind of way, like they are very analogous to them. So like we imagine those kinds of connections as being much more like easy, as a sort of a bridge towards nature. So like you have it's especially through like a lot of those mythologies include like breastfeeding or like forms of care that are actually analogous to the human. But when less and less correlated to the human, it becomes harder to trace those relations, and those relations become sort of estranged in a lot of ways, because they cannot be, it's like they cannot be translated. So I think that there is this necessity of like translating what is the natural and the planetary, what's in actually a scale that doesn't add up in a sort of way. That is to make an analogy with that in that situation in which an analogy is not that easy. It's not just like an organic homology that can be transplanted.
Yeah. Thank you for this comment. So I can say that the most interesting point about the cases with feral species is that we can grasp, especially in the case of the hogweed, is that this peculiar switching between the strict biological sense of the term, that means technically returning to the wild. Yeah, but we can grasp here this Ovid machine of feral. That I describe by etymological means. So we can say that there is a kind of, this is a more fundamental point about the feral. It is not a kind of biological status, it is rather an ontological status that connect with all of the species in the earth. And if we are looking at the case with the hogweed, we can see that the hogweed is a really we can describe it as something like ecological squatter. It intrude into our home, into our oikos, and pretend to displace ourselves. And in this displacement, this intruding, this invasion of the feral hogweed, we encounter something like our own ferality, and human itself becomes something like feral species. And the question is how to think this interrelation between feral species. And so feration in that case is something like about this interrelation between feral species. This is the politics that has its own complexity. It is not about the difference between feral and non-feral, or feral and cultural species. It is about the war, the political difference, the political discord between different feral politics. And the human politics is only one politics between the widespread multiplicity of feral objects. That's why we should scale and navigate between different layers, between different species, to find a way to find ourselves, because now we are lost, because now we are feral and don't know it. So that's my commentary to your commentary. Yeah.
Okay, maybe we describe the final presentation, which we will.
Yeah, we can do it, and but this connect to what I said, what I've said now, because it's about ferations. You may have a chance to read the texts that we attached to the first session. This is 3 sources. First was our platform Ferration World. The second was the text on sinkholes and sinkhole ecologies. And here you can find such a quotation, such an excerpt that can help us to invade into the ferations and feral politics as ontological and fundamental status of all elderly species. So we can read it and then we can discuss it if you don't mind. So, a sinkhole is a specific a void that is always filled with water, trees, wild flora and fauna, remains of urban infrastructure. If you bother to walk in Berezniki near the perimeter of the collapse, near the fence with the sign danger zone, no entry allowed, a Rosguardia employer, before escorting you away under threat of arrest, may notice that there is nothing to see there. You will not see any disaster, no gaping hole that intimidates by its blackness. Instead, even if infiltration is successful, an ordinary pit will be in place of the funnel, watery water and nothing else. So maybe you have some sort of thoughts about this quotation.
I think that first question should be whether you know Berezniki,
yeah.
Perm Cry and sinkholes. I suppose no. So.
Okay, yeah.
You should describe it.
Yeah, we can. As we said at the first part of our session, our expedition, we had an expedition in Berezhniki city, and we investigated so-called sinkholes. This is a specific geological process that connects with some sort of void formation on the Earth's surface. This is the void that put all the under terrestrial species like humans, like city infrastructure, like roads, like some sort of urban buildings right into the under Earth. So this is a specific process that concentrates all the species, all the formations, all formations of time and all formations of mineral right into one void. So this is the void that's always already filled. This is a kind of strange geological process that was formed due to the salt industry, because salt industry is a kind of the process of void formations. You know that to gain salt, you need to pierce the Earth surface and to produce some sort of voids, and these voids make the Earth surface very unsustainable, very unstable, and that produce some sort of what we may call sinkhole. This process is very widespread, and you may find it in other places of the world, because it is, first of all, it is a natural phenomena, but also it has its very dangerous drawbacks only if it connected with some sort of technogenic processes like salt industry or another kind of mining. So if after this short introduction, short description of sinkholes, maybe we can discuss this excerpt. What do you think about this weirdness of void that not exactly the void, because it is already filled? What is the ecological or maybe ontological drawbacks of these changes, this weirdness of sinkhole?
This is just a small point. It strikes me how sort of anti-spectacular this is, or the fact that, you know, as you say, there's no huge gaping hole or something. It's not a spectacular image, and I guess that encourages you to, it requires then that you look further or that you look more closely. And yeah, I guess that's relevant to this feral thing in general, in that you might look at the displacement of a mushroom or something, and that it doesn't look like it's very much, but it encourages you to engage further. So I think that's interesting.
Thank you.
I'm also thinking about the temporality of this kind of disaster, because it's interesting how basically the fact that this infrastructure is sort of temporally stuck in the past, and as we are progressing, it's just stuck there, and this is how this is precisely the condition which makes it unfold as a disaster. While, yeah, basically the fact that it's stuck, and it's seen with a lot of infrastructures, different types of infrastructures in the post-Soviet space, and Yeah.
Well, thank you. So we can move.
Well, I should say that all these cases, sinkholes in Berezhniki, for example, hogweed that spreads everywhere, it's a result of overuse of our land, of economy, of soil. And these results are interested under this point of view that we can actually build a map of such a not only disasters. I don't want to say that, because people who live in Berezhniki, they live near sinkholes, and this is a special ontological sphere point for them. They feel connection with sinkholes, and they don't recognize them as a disaster. Sinkholes for them is watery water, nothing more. It's their actual situation. It's a part of a landscape where they live, and they interacting with this landscape. And actually we try to put on map such interesting places, hogweed, sinkholes, and we don't want to watch on them like on traumatized territories. We try to watch on them like feral politics that demand a special approach for coexistence with them, because local people think in this way what they see, where they live, and so on and so on. So, and here actually we would like to work with you, with your places where you live, and we have a proposition for you to create a project about your ferations, or places where you live, what ferations you can find there, and how we can map them, and whether maybe in the end we will make together a map of coarse ferations, and I don't know. I think that here we can stand now. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you. So we can show our platform for you to describe its structure, and to make a connection with our conception and our ideology. So in our platform, you can find only 4 feration at that moment. So the first feration is petroleum, oil. The second is sinkholes. So the next feration is Heracleum, hogweed, Sosnovsky hogweed, and the final feration is Lenin. So here we have an interface where we can find some sort of pre-prepared ferations. This is only our this is our choice. This is our selection due to our own interest, our own practice that we encountered during the research, during to elaboration of the Russian Ferations projects. So, and we can take a closer look to the structure of each feration page. We can find here, first of all, I'm sorry, we can change, we can change language here, and sorry, so first of all, you can find the short description of the feration. It's described the final the essential points of this research project, and the structure of the feration page. You can also find the feration map. This is a thermal map of Russian oil pipelines that by zooming in and zooming out can create something about oil. I'm sorry, I have a problem with the interface. Yeah. So the next point of the Feration page is the medium field, and here you can find different media such as photo, video, and text. So and if we connect our task and our research purpose for this course, we can invite you to the investigation of such ferations. And here we can have two options. First of all, you can create text, photo, video, or another kind of media object for the current list of ferations. That might be petroleum, Lenin, Hogweed, sinkholes. So in that case, we can have one object per participant to create. So you should create something like object that can complement our current content of the ferations. And the second option for you is to create a new feration that will be connected with your own territory, your own place, your own oikos. And in that sense, we need to produce a kind of teamwork, because creating ferations is very, very hard work, because it should be something like creating a map, creating a text, creating another visual objects in order to fill the feration page. So we can discuss this task now and to select something that will suit you well. Yeah, could you please say something about what an option do you prefer, and what an option you see very interesting or very relevant for you, and we can select the scenario we can perform during the course. Or these options, all of these options are hard for you, and you are not interested to perform some kind of collaborative research in multimedia art field, with an opportunity to present it on the platform as a part of the platform, and then your participation in the course will be something like research rather than education. That will be very that will be more you know, more research like, more complex, and more I suppose more relevant, and more relevant for your own research, for your own interest, and your own opportunity and ability to present something like art objects or text or something, whatever.
I would prefer option 1.
Mm-hmm.
Just to ask, is it possible that we actually don't limit to one option, but
yeah, we can select multiple options, but in order to perform option 2, we need to compose a team, because the option 2 regard teamwork, because some 5 or up to 10 people can select some of feration and to investigate it during the course, and then to produce a complex research content that we can present on the platform with our other federations.
If we don't come up with like a solution now, maybe I can, after the class, I can compose a document and send around, and then we'll collectively decide.
Yeah, but we
It's
can.
another option, yes.
But we should select it before the session 2 starts, because we need to a space or a time for movement to create guidelines, to create some sort of to prepare some tools for the participants to create their content.
Well, okay, I think that we can do it by mail.
Mm-hmm.
You can use what you want. Maybe you want nothing, and you can do regular presentation after the course, maybe where you can describe some feral objects near you live, and so on. Okay, maybe if you haven't a question, I think we can end the session. If you have a question, please ask us. But I think that the final presentation and final actually project will be discussed by email, and we send the
I have a question.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, about the territory. I don't understand that because we are from different territories. So if we make a team, we will choose one territory, or I don't know.
Maybe the option is about to choose some object that is common for your territories, all of your territories. Yes, you can choose feral object that widespread throughout all of your territories, and that make the investigation more easy for you. I think that we can fix this problem through this way.
Yeah, I have a question too. Like, I have a specific case in which I am sort of interested, but like it is very far from my location in itself. So like I cannot produce images and this kind of stuff. So like, can it be more like towards a text form and maybe use already ready images, or like does it have to be some sort of like field work done in the place in which you are?
Yeah, of course. If you are if the text format very well suits you very well, and if you text-oriented researcher, so this is a very good way to present something into the platform, and I think that this is a very interesting way to participate in our project.
I wanted to discuss, for example, the possibility. I was really interested in the Hogweed situation. I didn't have an idea, and it was really dangerous because I saw some images on Google, and like there's like some burning stuff. So for example, for this collaboration, I'm if there's a possibility, for example, to work like creating something from the current list of operations. I'm, for example, able to edit a video if someone else, for example, I don't know, create a script from the text you shared, and someone records the voice, and like someone records the Hogweed. I've never seen Hogweed in my life, and maybe we can do something of like, I don't know, a description, like an anatomical description of the Hogweed, some sort of that stuff could be good.
Yeah, we think that is very good idea, and it can complement our own research on the Hogweed, and it is a very interesting thing. And if you maybe if you produce some sort of succinct text of your idea, it may be very helpful for us to help you in production such an object.
I wanted to suggest one thing, because I had the same thought as Alejandro, and around like the difficulty of coming up with, you know, a common Feration, I guess, in option 2, given that we don't share the same kind of space. But the further complication is that even though we do there's like a possibility to find a common element, maybe that element might not be common to all the different kind of locations that people are in, although there might be something that emerges between, like, you know, like there might be 2 different kind of like categories or something like this. So I was going to suggest that maybe people make suggestions for what they would be interested to talk about, and then people would have something like concrete to kind of like say, oh, actually, yeah, that makes sense in my context, or oh, that doesn't actually make any sense in my context, because, you know, I'm living in London at the moment. It's kind of like, it's got its very sort of, you know, you don't have sinkholes, right? Like you just have like anything that's fallow is being built on. Like there's a building site across the road from me, but it's just like already they're building new flats on it. So, you know, yeah, I mean, it is a feral space in a different sense if you know, if you're a rat like me, but yeah, that's kind of the point.
Yeah, thank you. We can prepare it through email, and to create something like selection options and suggestion options because finding a common between different territories, different peoples, different researchers is a very hard thing, but it is a part of the process of investigation and information, because the question of common is the first question we encounter while investigating these politics. And this is, you may see this process as a part of your research commitments, because the only way you can prepare such investigation is to find common with your partner, with your teammate. So
I think that we will prepare a table where we can propose some different Ferations and objects, and then you will choose the option whether you will do by yourself, whether you will do it in a team, like a teamwork. And also we can figure out in the table, you know, what form will be you will work as your work will be as a text, video object, or something hybrid. So I think that we will prepare a special table with all the information, and it will be helpful to understand what we want and which Ferations we will elaborate and work on them. Okay, so if you haven't questions, we can finish.
And if you haven't any thoughts on the conceptual part of our project, or technical and methodological part, we can end our session.
Yeah, we described all technical questions in the email.
We can be in touch during following.
Of course.
Yeah. We can prepare email at the beginning of the next week, and we can discuss throughout the next week all the question about Ferations and selection of Ferations, etc.
Yeah, I just have like a small question about dates, like what would be the time frame of that? So like until when would we have to develop something, and how that works specifically?
We can resolve this question also via email, because we need to connect with the new center and to suggest our deadline, because we are ready to continue our work far away from the course dates, because this is a complex research and it takes a vast amount of time. That's why we need to give you a more time than the regular task, because it is very interesting, but at the same time it is very complex. So maybe we can resolve this problem via email, as I said.
Sure, sure.
So if our question are gone, and or the remarks were made, then we can end our session. And if Alexei can connect with us now to
Yes, sure.
Yeah.
And we don't have a seminar next week on Saturday, is this right?
Our next seminar is
It's
going
in 2 weeks, no? On the 5th of December.
The next seminar is going to be 28.
Okay, I will update the schedule because it was like that on the schedule. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, thank you very much for your attention and for your participation and questions.
Yeah, it is extremely interesting experience for us, and as well as you, as we may suppose. So we will have a discussion via email, and we will ready to connect with you during the next session at the November 28th.
And there we will discuss actually maps, old maps and current maps.
We will discuss the question of scale, that
and how actually scale appealed.
Which paradoxically is not directly connected to maps or to cartography, because in our course we make a difference between cartography and scale as a different kind of a different ontological entities, if you prefer.
Okay, thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Have
Bye.
a nice week, everyone.
You too.
Okay, we'll keep in touch.